Hello everyone, welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie, and joining me this week is the host of CyberChris27, the host of CyberChris27, the host of Talking the PS at CyberChris2077, Mr. Chris.
Hello everyone. Hello indeed.
To be fair, after the dream you just told us about, maybe you are the host for CyberChris2077, a weird Men in Black dream.
Yeah.
And of course, to execute, if this is a Men in Black situation, Mr. Rob.
Hello. Would you be?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with my brain today. It's not working, so just bear with us, guys. Yeah, it's just one of them days. Like I woke up, my brain hasn't switched on yet. I've got coffee. Hopefully, I might become a human at some point during the show. But we've got a great show lined up for you this week, where we talk about UbiSoft Plus games library getting leaked, coming to Xbox. The UK says no to the Activision-Blizzard-King deal, and we've got some new games come off GamePass for February. All that and much, much more in this week's XPass. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on so you're kept in the loop of all our great content here at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS, where we break down all the PlayStation gaming news happening on the blue side of gaming, our Clickercast, which went up early. Well, technically last week, you got 2 episodes went live because of the Super Bowl. Weird to say, like, a football game changing when the TV show comes out, in my opinion, but
damn Super Bowl.
It did. So we give you the Clickercast on Sunday evening instead of Tuesday. So there will be no Clickercast tomorrow. That's right, Chris?
That's right, because it's already out.
Yeah, it's already out. Go check it on the channel if you missed it live. It'll be there forever. And it's also on podcast feeds. And it will return to its usual Tuesday, 8 PM GMT slot as of next week. We also have our weekly live streams where, for the first time ever, last week, Chris and I jumped into a bit of Halo Combat Evolved.
We did.
What were your thoughts, Chris?
I had a great time with it. I always knew I was going to enjoy it, but I actually think we discussed it during the live stream, but having played GoldenEye, like just the week prior when it launched on Game Pass, and kind of having those old school sensibilities reimagined again, to then jump into Halo, which obviously it came out a lot later than GoldenEye, but it essentially was still a first-person shooter of its time. To then play it kind of up-res, because we played the Master Chief Collection. Never played it before other than like a dabble of multiplayer. I had a great time with it. I enjoyed the story. The graphics didn't kind of burn my eyes or anything. I didn't go into it thinking this is going to look ugly. We did have a couple of chuckles throughout the stream. Go check it out on the channel, where within the game it actually allows you to literally press one button and it pops between the old resolution textures and the new one. So you can have some really good laughs, like looking at a character who's like quite a detailed like alien enemy. Press a button and it just turns into a polygonal kind of like old untextured mess from like the 2000s. And yeah, we had a great time. It's a co-op campaign we played through. We did a little bit of multiplayer at the end, but yeah, I had a great time. And I'm more than down for playing a bit more and seeing kind of where the story leads to. How about you, Richie?
Pretty much the same. I think there was like, it was a nice experience. Like, as you mentioned, there's a lot of comparisons to GoldenEye actually, because we jumped into GoldenEye. We know what this game is. We know how it's going to feel. We know how it's going to look. But expectations were set right for us going into GoldenEye, so we could have a blast. We know Halo's it's technically not a modern game anymore. This is kind of it's an old game at this point. So, and we could just embrace it fully for what it is, and think like just the nostalgia of like gaming in that era. It's like, you know what, it holds up well enough that you can have a blast playing it, absolutely, even with modern sensibilities.
Yeah, there was a few things that caught us out, which was a shock to us, that the fact that you cannot aim down the sight scopes. Yeah. There's like a couple of weapons that have like a click to zoom into like a set distance, but there's just absolutely nothing down iron sights at all. It's all just from the hip, which felt very GoldenEye, which was interesting. And I think we discovered, Richie, the kind of whole there was no sprint, so that was interesting. You're running around thinking, I just want to go that little bit faster, and it wasn't there.
Your movement's not slow, but I think it doesn't matter how fast your movement is, you still want a sprint button.
Yeah, And then the final one was probably the Warthog, the vehicle you have. The steering of it is very much like the way I would expect a modern one to be. It would be like R2, the trigger to kind of accelerate, steer with the left stick and just control your camera. But I think we found out, Richie, it's the right stick controls you have to be facing via the camera the way you want to go. So if you rotate the camera to kind of glance off to your right, which you would in a modern game, the whole vehicle just steers right instead with you.
Yeah, don't try to figure out the driving of the Warthog, because it's impossible.
Yeah,
it's not. I nailed it.
Well, we did almost go off a cliff and flip several times, but if you call that nailing it, then road trip it is, boy.
In comparison to how you played it, like I was drifting around tunnels and stuff. I was doing quite well.
But no, I had a great time, and I think if people want us to continue that playthrough, then just let us know. I'm absolutely down for it when we find our pockets of time.
And that's what the comments below are for. Before we get into it, gentlemen, have you been playing anything interesting this week?
I might as well go, because I'm going to have such a short entry on this. I've not had any look in on the PlayStation or much of Xbox this week, because Hogwarts Legacy has came out and our TV has been occupied by my girlfriend playing that game to death already. So I have nothing to say on this little segment of the show, unfortunately.
So you've observed plenty of it, though, from a distance.
Yeah, but...
So what you're saying is you need a second TV.
Yeah, but then, like, the trouble is, like, my second setup is here in this office, and when I work all day, like, I don't want to, like, necessarily be here during the week.
Just get two TVs and put them next to each other.
I think, but that's... You can't go back from that, can you? Because that's...
Maybe you don't need to. Maybe that is the future.
What you do, Rob, is you get your wand, you go into the room, you approach it and just go, Abracadabra! Just done. Problem solved.
No, apparently, like, she's...
full-on dress up as Voldemort.
Yeah, because those spells mean you're a bad guy, so she's not even trying to collect them. Which...
That I wanted to say that so many times. I basically chose halfway through my first look at Hogwarts Legacy on the channel now. I just decided to pick up a Samsung stylus that I use for my tablet, because like halfway through playing, I was like, I need a wand of some sort. I was like, what have I got? I've got pens around me. I've got this. I was like, this will do. But yeah, it's doing really well. It's the old Hogwarts Legacy, regardless of all its criticisms and stuff that came out. So.
Yeah, I think we'll be talking a bit more about that tomorrow on Talking the PS. So if you want to know our views on that, as Chris mentioned, we have a let's play on the channel of Chris's first look of it, and we'll talk about it a bit more tomorrow on Talking the PS. But anything else interesting, Chris?
I feel like I have been playing something. My brain is just absolutely crashed right now. All I can think of is Hogwarts Legacy and what spells I can say that kind of make jokes. Like subscribe-io. It's one of them. That's as far as I got.
Like your subscribe-io.
I have been playing something, but my brain at this moment cannot fathom what it was. So I'll pass on that one for now.
Hit bell icon-io.
I'll come back with that one.
Oh, God. For me, I'm still in that kind of, like, I'm just bouncing between a lot of stuff at the moment. Not really fixated on one particular game. Nothing's really, like, sunk its teeth into me, like, kind of thing. It's like, so I've been continuing playing a bit of FIFA. I'm still playing a bit of The Last of Us, in the kind of, like, I'll sit down, I'll play for a couple of hours one evening, and then won't play for, like, a week. It's usually pretty much the day after I've watched the episode, I'll play a bit of Last of Us. And then that's the week I don't touch it.
Spoiler free then.
Yeah.
Not necessarily of the game, but of the show, of course. Go check out Clickercast, everyone. How much have you played up to in the game now to line up with the show? I'm
in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So in the equivalent in the show is Kansas City.
Okay.
So I'm a little back, but I'm like basically in the same kind of close enough. Like it's not like the show's like chapters and chapters ahead or anything. It's just like but some sections in the show are longer in the game. Like Billstown is quite a bit longer to play through than it is to watch in the show. It's like an hour in the show.
Yeah.
And in the game, it's a bit longer. So I did Billstown kind of like over 2 stretches.
Did playing Halo this week make you want to go watch the Halo TV series at all?
No.
Rob, having seen it, do you think he should go watch it now he's experienced the game?
This is a weird thing. So, like, hardcore Halo fans of the game like despise the TV show. I absolutely love the TV show, so I would say watch it. But yeah, it's good TV, but I don't know if it's as faithful as some of the hardcore fans wanted.
I don't feel like I know enough about Halo to really get into it properly.
That could be good, though, right?
Yeah, it could be. But I feel like I'd want to play the games more than watch the TV show. As somebody who's more of a gamer than a TV show watcher, whatever the people call themselves.
Viewers?
I think viewers, yeah, you damn viewers. I feel like I would rather have my experience of learning like the lore and what Halo means to people by playing the games rather than watching the TV show. And if I got into Halo, that's when I'd consider watching the TV show.
That's fair.
And
That's fair.
I mean, if I wanted to watch a TV show, I've had plenty of chances since it came out to do it, and I've chose not to. So
that's fair. That was one of the reasons I think when I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, I was kind of recounting my history of that franchise and how after the books and the movies when we were kids, getting to like as an adult and the Fantastic Beasts movies doing whatever they did by the time they got to the second and then the troublesome third one, it just seemed to like the franchise fell off a cliff. And I was like, but as a gamer, playing that game immediately was like, all right, yeah, this is where I could happily spend hours and hours rather than go and watch another movie or watch a TV spin-off series, because it was like, yeah, this is my hobby, this is my best interests. I'd rather play this for 40, 50 hours than slog through another Fantastic Beasts movie.
Yeah, other than that, I actually picked up Pokemon again. Because I think in my brain, you know when something's like, it's not as good as you want it to be, but I remember like, I actually liked Pokemon Violet, but it just kind of soured in my brain. So it's like, I need to pick it up again to kind of like almost reset that, because I felt like I was just getting more negative than I actually am on that game. And I enjoyed it. I think a lot of my criticisms about the open world are still true. It's just kind of boring. But it's still a Pokemon game, and I don't know if it's because of patches, but it wasn't running as poorly as I remember.
I'm going to give it another shot once I get that Pokemon itch again. It's kind of came and went, left me now. So I feel like, regardless of if they announce another game this year, which we probably will get again, I'll give it another shot at a later time.
But yeah, I just wanted to kind of just have that kind of bit of a mental reset, because I realised I had been getting more and more negative about it. It's like, that's not my actual impression of the game. It's just, let's go back and see what I actually enjoyed about it. But it is... I don't know whether it's me, but I think the game might be playing a bit better. It's still not great. But anyway, let's move on. Chris, would you like to introduce us to the
excellently exuberant, excavated Xbox expose, aka the news.
And as always, the news section is brought to you by our Helix heroes, such as Daniel Bosserman. Thank you very much for joining. If you want to get your name in here, all you have to do is become a Helix hero for as little as 99p. So first story of the week, the boss. Daniel the Bosserman.
I'm sure he's never had that before.
Nah, he'll tell you what I do.
Right, okay. Don't get kinky on our new members. That's not what to subscribe for.
I mean, if you want to get kinky, you're going to have to go to a higher level than the 99p level. Sorry, I'm just in a weird mood today. I've had simultaneously not enough and too much caffeine.
And you're clearly very horny.
As always. Sorry. Activision-Blizzard-King. The takeover from Microsoft has hit the news again, because this time the UK have said no. They're not happy with the deal. They're kind of blocking it. So that's the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, has published its provisional conclusion on Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and proposed that Call of Duty be removed from the deal as one possible compromise.
Do Microsoft want it without Call of Duty? It's like, I'll have a Big Mac, please, but can you take the burgers out of the middle of the bun? Like, you're just left with the lettuce and the sauce and the pickles and whatnot.
I think without Call of Duty, you want to take the 6 off the 69 billion.
Even that.
We say that, but how much of the people a lot of people sleep on the King side of this deal, which is a hell of a money spinner. I mean, obviously it's not COD levels of money spinning, but I don't know if you just the price. I'd say they could still do it, but I don't think they will on the principle of it anymore.
Yeah. I think it comes to that thing. Like, you're right, King is an absolute money spinner. That's why Activision Blizzard bought them in the first place, because they produce tons of mobile games to make tons and tons of profit. But that doesn't feel like... It doesn't feel like Microsoft in this deal for the King thing. That's almost like a nice bonus to have this publisher, basically, who can just keep doing what they're doing and Microsoft just bank the money. It feels like they're more in for the Activision Blizzard side of it.
They're trying to build the way to good games, right? That's the...
Yeah, that's
by
it.
the way to good games, should I say.
Yeah, and Activision Blizzard, they do have some phenomenal franchises, and it's not just Call of Duty. You've got like the Blizzard stuff, you've got Warcraft, you've got Diablo, you've got StarCraft. Activision have got things like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, obviously Call of Duty. Tony Hawk's, like, they've got some great stuff outside of Call of Duty. So do you think this might be something that they have to get forced into? Then how do they do that? Would that just have to be like Activision Blizzard King at the moment now restructuring and basically jettisoning off Call of Duty into its own thing?
With an organisation that big, it's not a simple thing just to hack out like a little game. It's not easy to do that because you have like shared kind of back end functions. You have everything kind of like fair enough. We look at Call of Duty as it's like this big kind of monolith of gaming, but it's going to have its own kind of, it's going to share kind of function with other parts of the company, right? And I don't know if you can do that easily, like just to hack that out.
Well, how would it impact things like the share prices? It's like to hack out something as big to probably what Activision Blizzard King are as Call of Duty. That's not a small undertaking.
Yeah, it's insane.
You're probably looking a year or two to actually get that done. Like,
yeah, so I really don't think that's like a practical solution.
I don't think they'd want the deal anyway, would they? Like, that's the thing. I think the biggest thing for Microsoft was getting these games for Game Pass. I think if you lose one of the biggest back catalogue libraries from the deal and future catalogue libraries and that pull of what Call of Duty, like of all the things in that library, let's face it, Call of Duty will have the biggest pull towards Game Pass and the Xbox ecosystem than any other. And I just think the biggest thing I think we said from quite early on was that this pushback from Sony and all the regulators and stuff, I feel like it's just Sony's tactic to delay, and like the delay tactic seemingly is working fantastic. If they can give themselves that kind of foot in the door moment where they can just hold it open, Hodor style, until they get the shit together to get a shooter out or something, or make a deal with EA for Battlefield or whatever it looks like, any extra time is beneficial to them. But I do feel like we've reached a point in the deal where if what Sony say Microsoft are going to do happens, so they lose Call of Duty eventually, whether it's 6 years, 5 years, 10 years, if they lose it, or if the deal doesn't go through, it's almost kind of like the same outcome in a weird way, because like either way, like they're screwed over with Call of Duty at some point. So it's just kind of like, just bide your time. And then there is always that chance that, I know it's funny saying, but like, will Call of Duty still be relevant if they can hash out like an 8-year deal? Is Call of Duty realistically still going to be number one in nearly a decade's time? Like, we can't predict it. The stats show it might be, but you know what I mean? From a business lens, it's like stall, and it might just fall off a cliff and no one cares about it anymore.
As it stands, I'm reading from Video Games Chronicle, 100% equal access claim. What does 100% mean? When we say equal, we mean equal. 10 years of parity on content, on pricing, on features, on quality, on playability. That is the deal that's on the table. But so Microsoft's going, if this deal goes through, so you have 10 years where the games will be treated completely equally on both platforms, which, to be honest, reading that, I would say that if it goes on Game Pass, Sony can put this on PS Plus.
Yeah, and 10 years is a long time in gaming.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely.
So
it's more than a generation, isn't it?
So I think this would be like, if it goes through, you wouldn't probably get Call of Duty on Game Pass. In fact, it's almost a way Microsoft can kind of not put it there. It gives Microsoft that bit of an excuse, so they get 10 years of people paying for it as well as Game Pass.
Yeah. And I'd even argue, like, the irony is that what Sony's doing now, like, kind of reduces competition in its own unique way, like different, but kind of it is, as you said, Chris, it is the same outcome, but just in like a different kind of form. Because now, if someone like Microsoft wants to kind of acquire new studios and kind of improve their product in Game Pass, they're essentially being told, no, you can't do that because you're doing it too powerfully. Which like Sony can be like, okay, that's sweet, we can just like...
And Sony have a much bigger market share than Microsoft at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yes, this deal going through would damage Sony's market share. I don't think anyone would be under any sort of illusions about that, but if the 10-year deal isn't there, would this affect Sony's market share for the next 10 years? Maybe the market share really starts to take a hit in 10 years' time, and that gives them 10 years to come up with a Call of Duty competitor.
Yeah. But then it's kind of back to those details.
They have Bungie. Like, Sony own Bungie, so it's like they're not like they have like bad like teams available to do it.
To prep themselves. I do feel though originally wasn't the deal, I think they were offering it for like 3-year exclusivity, and then you kind of like they push back on 3-year. So it is at that point where they couldn't get 3-year, so now it was 6, and they couldn't get 6, then it's 9, then it's 10. It's for Sony, it's kind of like if you can kind of just lock in this deal, the longer it is, anything's better than that original proposal of 3 years, because 3 years, like you said, in video games isn't that long. But when it comes to the scope of if you've got a decade and there's the risk Call of Duty becomes out of favour, or Sony somehow hits it out the park with whatever they're building. It's all about just kind of stall tactics. But back to the kind of bigger picture was there's much more to this than just that game. Like if they negotiate this, somewhere in this negotiation, you've got to imagine the likes of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro are on the table along with all the other IP, because it's a lot to say that like you wouldn't get them games on PlayStation either. I know we always talk about Call of Duty, but there's a lot of IP that it would suck to see it exclusive.
I think the reason we're fixating Call of Duty is because the sales numbers of Call of Duty compared to Crash and Spyro. Well, I actually would prefer to sit down and play Crash or Spyro most days than Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. The sales figure's nowhere near. They're not even like in the same ball. There's very few other like franchises that are even close to Call of Duty in terms of sales, and you are looking at your FIFAs and your Maddens. Mm-hmm. As much as people love Crash and Spyro, they don't actually sell that hugely in the context of this sort of deal. Mm-hmm. So Sony would be absolutely fine not having Crash and Spyro. It wouldn't really... I don't think it'd dent them that much. It'd be kind of almost like a weird legacy thing rather than impacting them as a business going forward. But,
as a sidebar to all this, did you see Lulu Cheng, who's one of the executives at Blizzard, tweet out this past week? Basically, when The Last of Us aired for, I think it was episode 4, and it started getting all its praise. But without much context, I just want to show you this. So, again, executive up at Activision, by the way, so really high up, quite important figurehead. Hi. At FTC, so she tagged the regulatory board in the United States. Did you catch last night's episode of The Last of Us? It was incredible. No wonder the show is breaking record. It's a true blockbuster watched by tens of millions. If you haven't already, you should check it out. You might be particularly interested in the fact, and she basically goes on to explain why The Last of Us is... So wait, I'll keep reading to give you full context. The Last of Us is produced by Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions. It's based on one of the best-selling video games developed by Sony, owned studio, and published by Sony as a PlayStation exclusive. Why does this matter? The FTC has opposed Microsoft Activision-Blizzard deal on the grounds Microsoft could suppress competition from rival consoles by leveraging Activision games. It sounds like there's some worry that Sony's position as market leader could be jeopardized. And she goes on a bunch of subtweets, but when she tweeted that, my initial thought was, I think we talk about people who don't understand video games, like regulatory people. Yeah, this is the lady who is head of Activision, and yet she seems to be using a Sony exclusive title, incubator made by a Sony-owned studio exclusively, that they've owned from almost the beginning, and then an adaptation for TV, all done in-house, as a reason that they should be allowed to buy Activision.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I feel like she's coming from it.
She's making a good point, but she just isn't.
Honestly, I just think, like, if you're an executive at any of the companies involved in this, what you should do is say absolutely nothing publicly. Not a single thing. Unless it's a pre-prepared statement that you're delivering on behalf of the company. Just do not talk about it, because anything you say whether it's in private or on Twitter to someone, will be used against you. You're adding things, putting things on the table that do not need to be there. The table's messy enough without you piling on. That's kind of my take. It's like, I would be, if I was like, unfortunately, if I was Bobby Kotick in this situation, I'd be pissed about her tweeting about that.
I mean,
like,
she rounds out all of her subtweets by saying, Sony's talent and IP across gaming, TV, movies and music are formidable and truly impressive. It's no wonder they also continue to dominate as the market leader for consoles. In gaming, Sony is the first of us, and they will just be fine without the FTC's protection. And it's kind of like, because in my mind, like we mentioned it earlier in the show, but Halo, like what she's describing should be Halo for Microsoft. You owned it from an early stage, you grew it up, you've built its legacy, you've created it, you've then opted to do a TV show, and it didn't work. So I really can't understand where she's coming from here and saying...
Yeah, it's not apples versus apples. No.
It's just making a point so bad. So you can imagine the comments across all social media just like going to town on it about you just stay what you're doing, stay what you're doing.
Interestingly, the CMA did a public consultation about about this deal and asking people, do they think this would be good for competition in gaming? 75% said yes, that the deal going through would be good for competition. And yet
I don't see the big issue.
Yeah, and yet they seem to be blocking this on the deal, on the kind of thoughts that this would be bad for competition, but 75% of people disagree. It's kind of this weird... You can see why Activision, Blizzard, and like Microsoft people might be getting a bit annoyed by this situation where they're going, but people seem to think this is good for competition, not bad. It strengthens Xbox. Xbox is weak compared to PlayStation. Strengthening Xbox means there's another viable choice in the market.
Here we get like a feeling there's like a Ron Swanson like character at Microsoft just going, right, I have money, I want to buy this thing. That's as complicated as it should be.
Yes. Absolutely, and it goes a long way to say that. Like all these regulatory boards, the CMA, the FCA, FTC, all over kind of the world, is that the people dealing with that kind of wider scale thing, they don't understand the video games industry, like at all. Like they can read all the documents, they can do the research, they can look at the numbers and the figures, but like inherently, if you are not a gamer in this ecosystem, I don't think you can truly understand the ramifications. And it goes back to the age rating board with Mortal Kombat and stuff in the 90s, like governments stepping in and politicians trying to throw whether it's like trying to be hip and down with the kids going like, yeah, I play Call of Duty, yes, sniper, bang bang, like. And
you get the other side of listening to like the people who think any sort of violence in video games will automatically turn people into serial killers. It's like,
yeah,
no, that's not how it works. There's no strong evidence. The only evidence is, in fact, the evidence is more likely to go the other way. If you are likely to be a serial killer, you'll probably get more enjoyment out of being a serial killer in games, but you're still more likely to be a serial killer anyway. It's like,
ultimately, this will be decided by people who aren't gamers, which is
shit. I don't mind the authorities looking at this kind of stuff, because it is a massive deal that is going to change the gaming industry one way or the other. But it's when they're making decisions which seem to be contradicting their own research. That's where you go, well, what's going on here? Maybe you should take a bit longer, quietly behind the scenes work on this for a bit longer, and every single party should just shut up for a bit, to be honest.
So the worst thing is, like, the government will try to understand it by hiring like a bunch of consultants, and they'll hire like kind of like Jack Thompson style. They'll hire
legal consultants and marketing consultants. What they need is video gamers as well as the legal and marketing consultants. They'll get a stockbroker in as a consultant to talk about how this would affect share prices, and Microsoft and Sony is like, well, actually, sometimes, you need that guy, but you also need to actually talk to the people who are buying it. You need to talk. The biggest stakeholder in the video games industry is gamers. Without us,
like there's no industry. Wearing 5-day-old t-shirt bloke to sit down who's got like 10,000 hours in all the COD games. That's what you need.
You need that guy, but you also need people who who are just like passionate about playing Spyro, and you need a big cross section of all stakeholders. And I sometimes think I can't really talk about other regulatory authorities, but I think the UK tend to focus almost exclusively on just the stock price. But there's more to the industry than just how the stocks and shares of these businesses. Again, I think the biggest stakeholder is gamers, because without us, there's no market. Anyway.
Very nicely put.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, we're going to come back to this like 80,000 times over the next year.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I try not to put it in every week. I only when there's like a big thing, and this time it happens to be our country who's blocking the deal. I'm not even in favour or against the deal, to be honest. Like, I just
want a decision now.
I want a decision, but I want the decision to be properly thought out, with the right people consulted on it, and decisions made for the right reason. And it feels like everyone involved is making decisions for the wrong reason. Anyway, let's talk about Star Wars. Jedi Survivor has had 9 minutes of gameplay. Have you watched any of it, Chris?
Yeah, I watched a couple of minutes and then decided I don't want to see any more. It was one of those, like, it's similar with movies when the trailers, I don't know if anyone saw the Fast 10 trailer this week, but it's basically it's the entire movie compressed down to about 3 minutes. And I don't feel like I need to go see it now. It's ridiculous, and I probably wasn't going to see it anyway. But the game, it looks, the graphics look awesome. The fighting mechanics, we have droids, which is like you see them taking out battle droids from the prequels, which is like, yes, like, obviously they exist out in the world. Anyone who's watched the Clone Wars and stuff, there's still variations, because obviously they all got shut down when the Droid Federation and stuff went, but they were repurposed and stuff around the galaxy for different things. So it's cool that we get to see elements that we haven't seen in the game so far. I didn't think Cal's running style looked a bit janky. I don't know whether they've made him a little bit taller because he's growing up or what, but his animations of him running around and jumping around seem very stiff, but again, I'm guessing it's just like early build and they'll sort that out. And then I thought, you know what, I don't want to watch anymore. I want to just like keep it what it is, and I'll get to it.
I think people are safe if they want to watch it because it's gameplay trailer. I don't think you're getting much story from this. I kind of scrub through and just watch them because I was intentionally trying to avoid, similar as you. I don't want any story stuff spoiled, so I was just kind of scrubbing through, like stopping an action, a fight that I have no context for, watching for a minute and then moving on. The one thing I noticed is, it kind of weird thought occurred to me, is I can almost see the button presses in combat. Like, I'm not saying this is a bad or a good thing. It's not, it doesn't look fluid. It's like, you can almost see, like, and then he pressed triangle and then he pressed X, like.
Well, it's got that because of the fight. It almost has like that Arkham Batman style, like snap to combat.
Yeah,
just like everything is so quick and fluent. It's almost it's natively going to come along with this type of fighting, because even though the human eye is distracted by the motion quite a lot, you're always going to get that element of snap. Otherwise, all the characters would be like cutting through each other. Like, I mean, the lightsaber should be, but you know what I mean. The characters would be clipping through each other at quite a rate if we didn't have that snap to nature.
But especially in like the prequel era of Star Wars, when you see like the lightsaber duels, they always look incredibly fluid. This does look it is snappier. So I think your precision in your movements and decisions are going to be very, very important.
Absolutely.
Potentially more so than the last game. But I don't know, it's been a while since I played it.
Yeah, there was some of the things that came out of it which I thought were really cool. The fact that you can wield individual lightsabers, like two at the same time, that's like going to create like a cool new approach to it. I'm down for it. I actually learned something interesting about the prequels the other day. You know when Obi-Wan fights Darth Maul in that like famed scene, Duel of Fates in the background. He does that cool move where he kind of blocks from the front and the back within like a couple of seconds. They used the exact same clip in that fight a moment later, but close up to him. So when you see the wide shot of him fighting, he does the move, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then like 5 seconds later, he does the same thing, but super close up on Ewan McGregor. And it was like a short clip saying like why that scene resonates so well. And one of it was saying because they use repetition, so our brain sees the cool thing twice.
It becomes a style because he keeps doing it.
Yeah. Remember when he did that? And then, I watched it and I was like, motherfuckers, it's just the same clip, just snapshotted in within like 5 seconds of each other. And you just, because in the context of all the lights and stuff swirling around, you don't even notice it. And I was like,
I think this is Darth Maul's fault for like spamming the same attack twice.
I do kind of like that stuff. I think it does actually, because we know these are trained warriors, like the Jedi. So each Jedi having their own few little nuances, their own little like moves that they use all the time. It does make them look like they have trained, they've practiced this skill. This is one of the like things in the toolbox. Oh, in this situation, I'll do this thing. It adds just a bit more depth without really like hammering you over the head with showing like training montages or anything.
Yeah, definitely. As we get closer to the game, do you guys think it's going to be a case of Cal's somehow forgotten all his moves from the last game? Or what are they going to do with the skill tree on this? Like, is he going to have like Jedi amnesia and he's like, oh, Master, I forgot everything? Like Luke, he's like, I'm detached from the Force. I can't do anything.
I kind of want them to go like exactly where he ends up. That's where you start. But then you've also got to train players how to do that. So you need to find that nice way. I don't really want another full reset because we've kind of already had that with Cal. That was kind of his journey in the last game. He technically didn't really get stronger over the course of the game. He just remembered stuff that he locked away.
Yeah, true.
Which was a really cool way of handling him, to be honest.
Get some more flashbacks to him being a Padawan and kind of recapping his fighting there. I've noticed this game has a grapple hook as well. I'm always a fan of a grapple hook in games just for that extra element of traversal. And I think the biggest thing, what you don't really see it in the trailer, but I'm looking forward to them just sorting the map out because the map was a bit messy in the first game with that like laid Metroidvania. Like you returned on yourself quite a few times, but trying to find specifics was like it was a bit clunky within like the hologram that they set up for the map.
There was one particular level I think was pretty bad. Most of the levels were designed quite well, but I think it was like, you're like kind of in like the caverns, and there was like lots of different layers, lots of like bridges and like lifts and stuff. It was like the map basically became useless in one of the more complex areas of the game where you actually want to use the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, where some of the other levels were a bit more like kind of linear, and then you go, oh, I'm back to where I started. Like you have that moment later, but yeah. To be honest, I can't wait for this game. Your thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, I'm the same. I selectively like skipped through the trailer just not to kind of get too involved, really. But I think this is going to be like a very, very rare day one purchase for me. So yeah,
it's looking that way for me as well.
Yeah,
especially at the moment where I haven't really sunk my teeth into anything in a while. It's like, the more I see, is like maybe this is the game I want to play right now.
Yeah. Like, Fallen Order was such a sleeper hit for me as well. I remember playing it for the first time like, on Stadia just because my girlfriend had it on Stadia. And I was like, oh, I'll just have a play of it. And then I was like, holy shit, this is like... This doesn't feel like an EA game. But yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. Like, with regards to where they take his skill set, like, I would have, just because I'm like on a Ghost of Tsushima, like, high train right now, I would have liked to see them, instead of adding new abilities, instead like focus on like different lightsaber forms, because I feel like you can really transform combat without like just doing loads more power creep.
It'd be cool like if you learn like new forms after encountering like other Jedi survivors. Like he'd encounter someone who survived Order 66 and learn from them. That'd be a kind of cool way to like, okay, I'll show you the basics of this form, and then you can implement it.
Yeah, I don't think they will do it, but it would be nice for like a third game.
Yeah. Well, the whole Jedi is based on samurai, isn't it? Like the whole approach and style of them. So we would like you'd like to see that transition from Ghost of Tsushima into just the different stances and such. I can't wait for it as well. I think it's my kind of big game for this year so far that we know something like actively about, and it's mad to think we could get to the end of this year and the game of the year conversation could be about Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Spider-Man.
It's insane.
Which is like
just goes to show you how much IP is important.
It is, and it does kind of lend itself to what we look at the future. You've got an Iron Man game, a Black Panther game, all signed off on. Obviously, we've got Jedi Survivor, and it was making me think. I was listening to a few other podcasts that I listened to, and it's like, is Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order, is that the best integration of a character and a world into an IP that we know of? Because it's canon. Like, Cal is canon. Like, I can't think of anything Marvel have done yet, or any other IP, like Hogwarts, for example, where it's intrinsically happening at the same time the shows, the TV, the movies are. It's all, like, in-house canon, and it's sublime. Like, it fits perfectly. Like, if Cal shows up in a Disney Plus show, I'm down for that, and I think the wider audience would still know who he is to a degree.
We've been calling for this for a while, but you can do it in a way where it's more... I think you do it in a way where initially it's more of a cameo, as like, and like, I don't know, like, is a scene that's like, oh, you see Cal, he's in there, he's in like a canteen or something, and then shit breaks out, and then he pulls the lightsaber, and you can see the audience who've played the game going, "Oh yeah, he's my boy, he's back," and the people that don't go, "Oh, there's another Jedi guy. Who's this guy?" It just could work so well, and he's got the acting chops to do it. So
absolutely. Do you think there's a chance it could go the other way? And with the success of something like The Last of Us, would Disney look at Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order and think we could adapt this game, get the actor, and just retell Cal's story on a Disney Plus show?
I just think you tell a different story. Well, maybe you could actually. You could tell
because it's structured the game is structured like a movie. You have the big cinematic parts, you have the character moments, you've got the cast of people around him. You could always just do a Jedi fight scene, and I just think it's almost like the breadcrumbs are there. But is it beloved as The Last of Us was, or is it? You know what I mean? Or does Disney want to do their own thing? Because I'd still watch it in a way.
I think
Disney want a quick window on there right now for Disney Plus. Look how much of money they've lost recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out soon.
It would be I kind of like to see him do like a cameo thing in maybe in Ahsoka first to establish him in that world, and then you announce oh yeah, we're going to tell Jedi Fallen Order, we're adapting that game to movies. Because if you do it that way, you give him the cameo first, you introduce this other Jedi that's out there, it plants a seed, and people who haven't played the games could go oh, who is this guy? Why is he here? And then you go, oh, by the way, we're going to tell you who he is in his own show.
So definitely to put a pin on Jedi. Yeah. The first game, Fallen Order, had a big cameo, and it was such a fantastic moment for the game when said character showed up. What do you think the sequels is going to be? Will we see Ahsoka? Will we meet Yoda? What are they going to drop, do you think? Just one word answer into this one, where it's if he or she or they showed up, you'd go, that's cool. I'm so glad they got them for the game.
Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to decide whether I want to go dark side or light side. Or maybe you'd go someone who's not a Force user.
Link it up with Cass. Wait, let me check. Let me remember my timeline here.
Yeah.
Could he link up with Cassian? Is that a thing that could happen?
So, obviously, he survived Order 66, and then it took him ahead of the time to when Vader and the Inquisitors are still hunting the remnants of the Jedi down. So you're talking
New Hope hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. So
probably not far off.
So Cassian, timeline-wise, might exist, but he might be just starting the rebellion. So you're probably around that time for it. Depends how close we are to A New Hope, really.
Yeah.
Because the rebellion's being built, Rogue One kind of world.
There was theories he could appear in the Obi-Wan TV show. That didn't happen because it is that kind of era.
But I'm thinking practically as well, he's a bit of a cheaper actor who wouldn't maybe see kind of mocap and the voice acting gig as no, it's not worth my time type of thing. So yeah, maybe that would be my guess.
I don't know. I mean, you could go absolutely give the fans what they want and Mace Windu do it.
That would be insane. But
it would be insane,
right? I don't think he'd come back in a game. I think they'd save that for the big screen.
I don't think he'd come back in the game unless he was coming back to the big screen. But if in Jedi Survivor you brought back Mace Windu, you've just retconned his death. Samuel L. Jackson's back.
Yeah, I think they'd save that for a movie or a TV beat.
Plus he's 80.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson's getting on a bit, isn't he?
Yeah.
You might think that actually bringing the character back in the game might be easier on him then.
If you just have to do the voice, yeah.
Yeah, you can do the voice, and then you can use. It's a lot easier to use stunt doubles when you're going to animate what they do. So it's I
don't know. 74-year-old. That's insane.
I'd love that to be a case. I'm not sure if I'd like them basically resetting the canon, but I think it would be awesome if they did. But it also adds more questions into what was he doing after that point. It's one of them characters. If you brought him back, you need to kind of get rid of him before New Hope as well.
Yeah, true.
So because otherwise, why wouldn't he be there?
Well, why wasn't Yoda?
Or at least by the time of Luke's straight up now going to fight the Emperor and stuff. He would have made an appearance in that kind of free movie gap. You'd think, wouldn't he?
Yeah. My money, if I was to pick, is on Ahsoka. Just I think time frame. Yeah. She escaped the Order just like Cal did. She's on the run just like Cal is. She could train him something just like he needs.
It builds hype for her show.
In her show's coming out, I just think, and she's a character that again, Dawson. Again, back to what Rob said. I don't think she's like a top required actor who would cost a fortune to do the mocap for and voice if she need to. Yeah. So, and again, when they were negotiating a script for the Ahsoka show, you can't imagine they went like, oh, we've also got some side content you need to agree to do as well, because that's the way they're trying to build this world out. It's all connected. But not long to find out. It's just delayed, but pushed back.
It'd be cool if you had a cameo of Rosie O'Dawson in this game, and then you had the exact same scene in the show.
That would be cool, yeah. And then it pops up across the bottom in the US banner style saying, go play the video game, available now on PlayStation, Xbox.
It's the same scene with the same two actors in it, just coming at it from a different context.
That would be very unique, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like that.
It's absolutely doable. But let's talk a bit about Alan Wake.
Alan Wake's so boring compared to Star. I'm joking.
We're already 45 minutes in the show, let's get through it. It's kind of like an interesting contrast in terms of the strength of the IP, because... I was thinking about this earlier. If you told me Alan Wake 2 is going to be the best game of all time, I'm not sure I'd care. It's something about the name Alan Wake just kind of puts me off.
We've said it before. Like, again, like, no disrespect to Alan Wake except for his name, but like, I thoroughly enjoyed Control. I actually had on pre-order the Alan Wake remaster last year, and then I think a collection of other games came out, and I decided to cancel my pre-order, which I very rarely do. And I don't know, like, I enjoy Control, but I feel like I'd rather just wait for the second Control entry at this point, rather than learning about a new game. But there is something about it which I know I'll probably enjoy, but it's surprising that Remedy are telling us now it's fully done, right? It's playable. Obviously not finished, but it feels like it was announced and then it's almost in like the final straight, almost.
I think the bad thing is there's just not, like, I'm not feeling like the groundswell demand for it. Like, that's the really sad thing for me.
I know. I think it really... This is one of them games that really needs a solid marketing push. Jedi Survivor doesn't really need a big marketing push. They just need to let people know it's coming and remind people. I think this game needs to be sold to people. Like, this is why you should play it. And do we know if the first one is on Game Pass?
I don't think it is. The first original maybe, but not the remaster one.
See, I think that's one of the moves they should do. Get the remaster on Game Pass so people have an introduction to the franchise, so that then when 2 drops... Because I think this could be a Plague Tale situation for me, where I don't want to play like Requiem until I've finished Innocence. So I want if I'm to consider Alan Wake 2, I kind of want to play Alan Wake 1 first. And I want to play like the remaster, not the original, so give me it, Xbox.
It's, in regards to the marketing push, I feel like it's one of them where if you told me Blue Pill, Red Pill, Alan Wake 2, Max Payne remaster, I feel like I'd rather play the Max Payne remaster, which is... That's worrying, right? From a marketing standpoint, if I'd rather play something you're not working on. Although they have confirmed they're in the concept stage, but it's like, I'd rather have Control 2, Max Payne Remastered, before I even considered Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, 1,000,000% for me.
I'm sure there's people out there who played it and think it's a great game. I know it's a very well revered game, but like you said, Rob, I don't think it has that groundswell or following. Like, it has a cult following, but I don't think it's got a cult big enough to cause the government any problems. It's not like that good of a cult.
And I think the numbers kind of back that up, right? With the sales. Like, sales aren't particularly strong for the remaster. And
no, it didn't,
Yeah, that's why I think, like, if they brought the remaster to Game Pass, with 2 on the way, not that far out, well, it's now playable from start to finish, it might give that little bit of a groundswell. More people will be willing to give it a chance because it costs them nothing extra to try.
Yeah.
So that's... I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. This is the problem with Alan Wake. Every time it comes up in the news, it's like, I don't really know what to say about it because it's just so much not on my radar. I forget it even exists between news stories, which is a massive problem for them, I think. And it sounds like I'm not the only one.
I'd rather play Psychonauts, Richie.
Yeah, me too, actually. I've never played Psychonauts. Have either of you? before we get into this story?
No.
Rob is frozen.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was just sat perfectly still.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we'll continue talking about Psychonauts until Rob reappears. Sorry for messing up the cameras, guys, because I'm expecting him to drop out the Discord call any moment. But Double Fine, Psychonauts is a 20-hour documentary documenting the development of Psychonauts 2. Any interest in watching this, Chris?
I don't. Having not played the games, I don't have any interest in the actual watching of this TV show. What I do think, though, is Psychonauts has been on my radar since Psychonauts 2 had like loads of praise.
It was in the Game of the Year conversation.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, not this year, the year before, but it was one of Xbox's first-party titles, and now we're kind of owners of GamePass. It struck me as their Ratchet and Clank. As like a big PlayStation fan, like it seemed like their equivalent. It's a little bit of a smaller story. It's a little bit more cartoony. It tells a loving tale of kind of like lovable characters going on an adventure. And for me, that was kind of the draw to it. And I don't think it's that long of a game. And Double Fine, like a fantastic studio. And reading about this was Psych Odyssey. It's like a 20-hour documentary series, and I'm all for seeing more behind-the-scenes stuff. I love what Sony did with God of War. They did it with The Last of Us. There's a full like hour-long documentary of how that was made, and kind of that peek behind the curtain. I think, Richie, you watch a lot of the No-Clip series on YouTube.
I haven't in a while, but I have in the past. Yeah.
I mean, it needs to be a game that you're a fan of to watch it. I don't like watch it religiously, but as soon as anything pops up from No-Clip that I have a vested interest in, I sit down and watch the whole thing. And it's great to see the games industry kind of opening up and acknowledging that, yes, there's difficulties that come with it, there's technical problems, there's limitations. Like, they're businesses at the end of the day, and they're ran like jobs. And a 20-hour documentary free on YouTube called Psycho Odyssey, kind of leading up to the building of this, is fantastic. 32 episodes. So if you're big on games and you want to know how the sausage is made, then I don't think there's a better thing out there.
I'm actually quite interested in this, although I think I've incorrectly dismissed Psychonauts as a franchise as just another... I think when I first saw like trailers for the first game, I kind of dismissed it as just a kind of weird-looking platformer. I went, okay. But that is clearly, I'm wrong on that. Like, Psychonauts 2 was one of the best games of the year when it came out. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be interesting to watch this documentary. I'm not sure about the 20-plus hours, though. That seems a bit too much, in my opinion, for something like this. I'm not sure I want to dedicate 20 hours of my life to that, when that 20 hours could be spent playing the game.
Yeah.
If it was like a couple of hours...
Do you know watch like I watch a lot of YouTube just like as background noise when I'm working, and like the concept of like 20 hours of content which I don't need to hunt out and I don't need to like vet is like quite exciting to me. I think like I can see it just being on for like a week in background when I'm working.
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube while I'm working, but I also struggle to keep up with my current watch later list, so adding 20 hours on top of that is like... Yeah. I think I'd fizzle out on it.
It's back to what we said about Halo at the beginning. Like, as a gamer, I'd rather play the game. Like, if I was going to dedicate 20 hours. But maybe after that might give me the kind of insight to go, oh, you know what? Now I've played the game, I enjoy the game, I want to see how it was made. But it's great to see it actually happening, rather than traditionally this industry is very just closed off, secretive, shadow drop. You only hear about things when it's announced or stuff leaks. And as far as every other medium, you kind of get a good bit of insight, and it's nice to see they've kind of embraced that with this.
Does anybody remember on the Metal Gear Solid 2 disc, there was like a load of kind of like content on like interviews and stuff. And like all I can remember is like Kojima's like staff like kind of running around with guns in the office and like then you saw like in the game. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk about some games coming to Game Pass this month. So Madden 23. I'll just go through the list of games and then we can pick ones if we want to talk about them individually. So starting on the 9th of February, Madden 23 and SD Gundam Battle Alliance came out. Tomorrow we'll have Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord dropping.
This is amazing. Play that game. It's incredible.
We'll come back to it in a sec. City Skyline Remastered drops on the 15th. I actually want to talk about that separate to this story. Shadow Warrior 3 Definitive Edition comes out the 16th, and Atomic Heart comes out the 21st. So, Rob, Bannerlord, tell me why I should play it.
So, like the Mountain Blade series, like I've been a fan of for ages, and with Bannerlord, essentially you start off as like just a single character, and like the game focuses on like your combat abilities, you kind of like fighting kind of small bands of bandits or whatever. And then as you kind of grow in strength and you attract followers, it transitions into like more of a strategy game. So you're still like your character on the battlefield, but you may have like 300 men to command. And instead of like running around doing individual combat, you kind of transition more to like a general and like kind of like commanding your troops. And it's just really, really well done. And it's a good game for people who like kind of the combo of combat and like the strategy element. So definitely recommend it.
I know our Discord servers, there's been a lot of chat about Bannerlord recently and how good of a game it is.
Yeah, it is. I think it's like there's only a couple of devs on it as well initially, and like the fact they've built this like massive world out of not many people is an incredible achievement.
You know, I've actually watched some like Let's Play stuff from the Spiffing Brit on Bannerlord.
Yeah, like all the exploits he does.
Yeah, it's like it does seem like a cool game, and maybe we'll do a stream on it sometime. Chris, any thoughts on Bannerlord? You interested?
Not Bannerlord for me, but Atomic Heart's definitely got my interest and intrigue. It just looks like BioShock set in Russia, essentially. I'm down for that. But we don't have long to wait.
We don't. It's 21st of February. It drops on Game Pass, so you'll have it. Sometimes you just gotta love Game Pass.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. Like same with like Wild Hearts. I think we're probably going to have a look at that on the stream as well. And
think this week we're going to do it because the demo drops. It's a 10-hour demo drops this week.
Seems fitting. And then City Skylines, which we've got a Let's Play up on the channel already. But having lost that when Stadia went, to then get it back on Game Pass in a remastered next gen form, it's like awesome. I can play it again.
What I wanted to talk about with City Skylines is you're getting a remastered. It's coming to consoles, it's coming to PlayStation and Xbox, but I don't know if it'll be coming to PlayStation Plus, but it is coming to Game Pass, so we'll have it back, which is nice. But do you think it's time for City Skyline 2?
I mean, I feel like we're already a few years past needing a City Skylines 2. I just think they may be seeing it more as just a continuous platform rather than... Because there's got Cities VR comes out with the PSVR 2 later this month as well. So it's just like, this is it. There's
stuff happening. It's not dead by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it almost needs like, okay, let's draw a line under what we've done, bring this to a newer engine, give it a full like graphical and interface revamp, and just do it again. Because, I don't know, I think when we were playing on Stadia, as much as I enjoyed it, it does feel a bit old.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of its charm, though, because if you do... It's the same with, like, Jurassic... Like, I loved the Jurassic World game. I got the Platinum in the first one, and I was really hyped for the second one, and when it came out, I was just like, it's just more of the same with a couple of tweaks, and I was like, I feel like with simulation games, there's only so much you can do for them, and I feel like if they're happy with this, then just keep building on it. Like The Sims, just keep adding more to it, and keep adding more to it.
Yeah, I find it like when you see things like this, though, I look at the DLC and it looks very intimidating how much they've released. And I wonder if like a second title, when it kind of cleans the slate a bit, and some of the stuff that came into later games as DLC could just be incorporated right from the off, and it might just regenerate the franchise a bit. It could also go the other way, but people go, I don't know, I'm not hardcore into it. Actually, this is a perfect one. If you've played a lot of City Skylines, let us know in the comments if you're happy for them to just continue supporting the remaster, or would you prefer a brand new title, right from ground up?
I had like a similar experience with Hearts of Iron, like the 4X strategy, which I play sometimes. Like, whenever like a new DLC comes out for that, the entire like meta of the game completely shifts. And like each kind of DLC brings like an iteratively more detailed section of the game. So in that game, like it's divided up by kind of like land forces, ground, and air, and each one's to a point where it's so niche and so micromanaged that it becomes far too complicated for new players to get involved. So I would be in favour of doing like a reset, like you say, Richie.
Let's move on for a bit. To end up the show, let's talk about Ubisoft, because the potential list of games has kind of been leaked that might be coming to Ubisoft Plus. Now, we don't know. I can't find any like concrete information about whether they might do like a Ubisoft Plus kind of light situation for Game Pass, or would it just be you can now just subscribe to Ubisoft Plus on Xbox like you could on Stadia? But the list is kind of what you'd expect. It's got your Assassin's Creeds in there, your Far Cry's, pretty much everything from Far Cry 3 onwards. Rise of the Republic's in there, For Honor, Battleship, Boggle, Child of Light. Yeah, Tom Clancy stuff. Is there anything that massively jumps out to you?
It's the same list that I think we expected. If we do get like a tie-in with Game Pass, because remember we already have some Ubisoft games on Game Pass, like Assassin's Creed Origins. Or did I say Orgy then? Orgy. Assassin's Creed Orgy.
Assassin's Creed
Orgy. Ezio come back definitely.
Yeah. Exactly. All the assassins in one room together. But no, realistically,
just banging away.
If there's some kind of incorporation, Hidden Blade. If there's some kind of incorporation,
that's a very nice Hidden Blade.
It would be like Ubisoft Classic that PlayStation have, where just some of the classics are kind of woven into the PS Plus. I could see Ubisoft Classics being a part of Game Pass. This list at the moment it's exhaustive. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of fantastic games in there, but it's all back catalogue stuff at this point, and that's, I think, obviously Ubisoft's goal is to have Ubisoft Plus as that like be all go to place for all of their games. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we just continue to see, here's Ubisoft Plus if you want it, but we'll still kind of cherry pick some of the best ones for Game Pass based on Microsoft wanting to kind of fill a gap every other couple of months maybe between their own studio releases. No surprise, no big shocks, but looking forward to it getting here just so I have the option, really.
Yeah, that's the thing what I've always liked about Ubisoft Plus. Going back to our Stadia days, what I loved about Ubisoft Plus was, hey, here's a new Assassin's Creed game dropped. It's a £70 game, or you can get Ubisoft Plus for what is about £15 a month. And you can spend a month playing Assassin's Creed and save yourself like 40, 50 quid. And you also have access to the entire library as well. So if you're not like obsessed with owning the game in quotations, I think it's a really good way of experience like the Ubisoft library, and there is, despite how kind of negative I usually am with Ubisoft, there is good games in there. My thing is, I just don't, as always been, I don't think that Ubisoft games are as good as they could be. But again, like I've enjoyed playing things like Rise of the Republic. We enjoy a bit of Ghost Recon. We've enjoyed the Division. So when Assassin's Creed Mirage drops, which is, if it is more of a step back towards that kind of half step back towards original Assassin's Creed, I think could be potentially the best in the game in the series. I think, I hope this drops in time for Mirage, because that might be how I experience Mirage, just by getting Ubisoft Plus for a month. Rob, any thoughts?
Like, nothing's kind of just like jumping out to me on the Ubisoft Plus, just because we've talked about like Ubisoft fatigue in the past.
It's got South Park games, they're awesome.
They are, but I think for me, I've never had the desire to replay one of those games. Like, I've played it, got the jokes, and like it's been like a nice experience at the time. But for me, if I was to top up my kind of subscription, if you want to, like game subscription, if you want to call it that, I'd probably go down the EA Play route this time, as opposed to Ubisoft Plus, which is not a thing I thought I'd say on this show, to be honest. But yeah, like we'll see kind of what's rolled in and what's not. But I don't know. Maybe I'll just jump into some Boggle for a bit
for
of
me,
downtime.
It's just there for if I want to play a Ubisoft game. This is, if I don't already have it, this is probably the cheapest way to get in and give. I think there is good value for money in there.
Oh, definitely. If you're into that type of game, like Chris, I'd say like kind of you're probably the biggest like Assassin's Creed fan, and there's definitely value there for like a gamer in your situation, but it's just not for me, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on to the last story of the week. There's Minecraft Crocs available.
Crocs.
It's been an episode, guys. Set to launch 16th of February worldwide. You can get limited edition Crocs.
You know what, Richie? I was about to go off on a tirade about these shoes because we had for Xbox we had what the jumper jacket for your controller.
Yeah.
What else did we have? We've had multiple stupid clothing. We had a hoodie. Yeah. Some gloves or something. Basically, all the attire, all the winter attire you could have, and now summer's on the way. Damn Crocs have resurfaced.
Let's just be clear. These are not Crocs for your controller. That would be stupid. These are Crocs for your feet.
Yeah, and I know people who own Crocs and they think they're cool, but without going too much into it, I was going to say these look ridiculous. They're essentially green and black Crocs with like random little Minecraft blocks and badges stuck to them. However, yesterday I was out shopping and I went in the UK, it's called Flannels.
Are you about to say you bought Crocs?
No, I did not at all. But some of the footwear and the clothing in these shops that I sound like an old man, the kids wear today. Like these trainers with big, thick heels and ridiculous shapes, and like, oh my word! Like the Croc, these are normal by comparison to some of the shit that I saw in that shop. And the worst part is, it was like £300 for like a child's shoe that looks like you basically put it into a vacuum form machine and just threw a bunch of shit that was in the kitchen drawer in there with it, vacuum formed the plastic over it, went, there's the shoe, £300, please. It's so bad that these Crocs by proxy are actually fine fashion.
Yeah.
But Chris, you're going to be asking someone younger than us to like set up your tablet in the next few years, aren't you?
I have my Wizarding One stylus pen to sort me out with that.
The thing for me is like I saw a Eurogamer article which said Crocs, and I immediately jumped in excitement thinking there'd be a new Croc game.
Yeah.
And then this was such a letdown when I actually read the full headline. That's
a great point. Yeah, Legend
you know
of the
what? I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened in like Fortnite. Let's just bring Croc back, just like for no reason.
Croc was class.
Croc was better than these shoes.
I remember how amazed I was when I played
Croc was originally a Yoshi game.
Footsteps.
Croc was originally like going to be a Yoshi game, whatever you prefer, for like in the Mario franchise, and I think Nintendo turned it down, so they like had to redevelop the character to not be like infringing Microsoft's IP. That's how he came about.
It still came very, very close to it.
And now when you know that, you can totally see it, can you?
Oh, 100%, yeah. But I loved it. Like my mind was blown when I saw like footsteps in snow when I played Croc 1 on the PlayStation. That was like, wow, this is next gen.
I think by Fox Interactive, so
there's an IP there that could really come
Disney
back.
Now, right? Well, if Microsoft end up owning Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, PlayStation might be scrambling for a mascot again. And
bring back Croc.
If they're not going to revive Gex, which I keep saying, save the gecko every other month, I echo that sentiment. To get both lizard creatures in there.
I think Croc's less problematic. I think the problem with Croc was just the terrible controls. Like the tank controls, but it was early 3D platforming. They hadn't figured this stuff out yet.
But we've had a Spyro and Crash crossover on the DS, I think it was, back in the day. I'd take a Croc and Gex crossover. Like Gex is the suave, shouldn't be saying what he should say, adult, and Croc's like the naive younger one, and they just go on a lizard adventure together and show each other.
It's like a slapstick comedy platformer between the two of them. Like,
why not?
Yeah, like
why not?
Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise and Navigator.
There you go. We've designed it for you, everyone.
Yeah. But that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and consider becoming a member of the channel for as little as 99p. And subscribe if you haven't already, with your notifications turned on, so you know when all our great content drops. Like tomorrow, in Talking to PS, we'll be talking about everything Hogwarts Legacy. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
We've been Helix Plays Games. Helix Plays?
That's what I said last week.
I did say at the top of the show, my brain's not fully switched on, and apparently an hour later, it's not. There's a Discord server, links below. Bye.
Go get plowed.